I always laugh when I do that. Hi, everybody. This is Andrew Champagne with my friend Owen Doherty. We are doing the election wrap-up. We're both members of the Vermont State Democratic Party. Let's be straight. Owen and I are two of the hardest core Democrats you're going to meet. We were delegates to the Democratic National Convention, okay? We're members of the State Democratic Committee. Owen works in Veterans Affairs for Congresswoman Becca Balint on the non-political side. So, Owen, there's no way of getting around it. It was a rough night. And you want to start by breaking it down a little bit, and then we'll see what comes up. We have some graphics.
Well, where do you want me to start?
Why don't we start nationally?
Yeah, at the top, Vice President Harris lost. I think most people have probably heard that news by now, and it wasn't particularly close, although really the most likely outcome was that either one would win all 7 battleground states, and that's what happened. Trump won all 7, and they also lost the Senate. They lost 2 great senators, Sherrod Brown and John Tester, and didn't pick up any seats. But defended more than we
How are we doing in Arizona, Alan? With Ruben Magallego?
He won.
Oh, that's the kind of Democrat we need.
So they picked up some great seats as well, but weren't enough to overcome the 2 losses. And then in the House, although they haven't officially made it to a majority yet, it looks like the Republicans will retain the House, likely by a pretty small margin, either less or about the same as where they were at before.
Very close.
So that's good news. It was close, but not enough to get the majority, unfortunately, although some races are still uncalled.
Now, when we were in Chicago, we really thought we had a winner in Miss Harris.
We do have a winner in Miss Harris.
And I know she's not watching, but if any of your friends are watching or something, we think you're an amazing person. Your spirit, there you are, your drive, your caring, you care for everybody. My friend, you took an unbearable load. The President of the United States, because of age, possibly because of physical infirmities, had to step down. You only had 15 weeks. What you did was nothing short of miraculous. I would like to personally thank you. It was an honor to be a delegate for you. I'd do it again. Owen, I know you would. Mm-hmm. You were down in Pennsylvania. I want you to talk about, you were in Pennsylvania, which was the biggest of swing states.
I was in Pennsylvania, the biggest swing state for the last 5 days before the election, and it was very exciting, very energetic. A lot of folks were down there volunteering as well from across the country.
The world.
And the world, yeah, people from really all over, because this election really mattered, and the vice president really inspired people and gave them energy, so it was really great to be down there knocking doors, assisting volunteers, running a staging location. Also got to attend the vice president's final rally before the election in Philly, so that was pretty cool.
Historic on the steps.
Historic on the steps of the Art Museum. So it was a pretty awesome experience to be down there the final 5 days.
Now, Philly's one of those cities, there's about 7 or 8 of them in the United States. You know when you're in Boston, you know when you're in New York, you know when you're in Philly, you know when you're in DC, you know when you're in New Orleans, you know when you're in Houston, Frisco, and LA, but it's got its own character. Pennsylvania has had a lot of economic problems. Let's talk about that, man. A lot of this, people vote, hey, you can vote for any reason you want, but the economy was on their mind. Of course there was going to be inflation after COVID, Owen. I thought the president, with the Build Back Green and all the spending he did, basically the government stepped in to jumpstart the economy. Mm-hmm. And, you forget sometimes how wealthy the United States government is. And I thought the president did there he is. I was a delegate for him too. And I go way back with him, and he's an extremely fine man. Mr. President Biden, I want to thank you for your, 52 years of service to your country. Mm-hmm. And what you've been through, and how strong you are, and how you were there for Bo, how you've been there for Hunter, and how you've just been a calming influence on America. I want to wish you the best, sir. I was honored to be a delegate. I was honored to see you speak and cheer for you. And I think you're one of the finest men who's ever taken the office. Now, when I said finest men, what's crazy, Owen? 2024, man. 2024. And it's a full 104 years since women got the vote. And we haven't been able to break that brass ceiling. And that makes me feel, as a male, God, Hillary Clinton was an excellent candidate. I can think of a lot of good candidates. Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan, Susan Rice.
I don't think she ran for president.
No, she didn't. But who had the qualifications?
Would have been a good president, sure.
Now, who else in the recent history?
Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, yes. Oh, we love her. She won big. Now, okay, we can sit here and cry in our beer all night about the losses, but let's talk about some wins. I got to thank him. Hey, he did great. Our senior senator, Bernie, nobody's man but ours, won a very, very nice re-election. And, you know, he hasn't been afraid to give it to the Democrats. He has said that he thinks that maybe we left the working people behind. And perhaps we did. The one thing that Owen and I, we always talk about at the convention is it's very, very corporate. It really is. And to the person that is living paycheck to paycheck, you know, sometimes these bottom line, you know, healthcare, the economy, fuel bills, the price of insurance has gone up, the price of car insurance has gone up, the natural disasters that have been caused by climate change. What insurance company wants to rent a cottage, you know, in South Florida? Well, who wants to insure that? But we did have some victories. Ruben Gallego in Arizona.
Yep.
Did Jake Sullivan's wife win in New Hampshire?
Maggie Goodlander, yep.
Oh, that is so great.
So kept both New Hampshire seats. Jared Golden in Maine looks like he won.
Yep.
I think it's going to go to a recount maybe.
You know, in New York we held some seats too, and
they flipped a couple seats in New York.
Under Hakeem Jeffries' leadership.
They what else? Senate, Alyssa Slotkin won in Michigan. Tammy Baldwin held her seat in Wisconsin.
Amy Klobuchar.
Jackie Rosen in Nevada. You know,
Adam Schiff in California.
Andy Kim in New Jersey.
Oh, he's going to be great.
A lot of great wins. It's actually going to be Angela Alsobrooks in Maryland and
Christine Gillibrand.
Lisa Blunt Rochester. The first time ever that 50% that two black women have served in the Senate together. It's 50% of the entire history of the Senate. Black women serving right now. So yes, it is quite historic.
You've got to see the light. You've got to see the light. So, statewide, we had some, our undercard, we're both friends, full disclosure, we're friends and we help and we think he's great, is Treasurer Mike Piechek. He had a resounding win. Also, our pals Charity Clark, Attorney General, and Sarah Copeland-Hansis, who is very kind to all of us, always talking about voting. Sarah, thank you for helping support me in Chicago. I appreciate that. Now, there was one loss, and we got to put him up, and, you know, he's a friend, and I feel for him. David Zuckerman, longtime lieutenant governor, unfortunately didn't make it. A Republican beat him. David, there you are before you cut your hair, and when he cut his hair, he donated it for Locks for Kids. David has been my state rep, my state senator, and lieutenant governor. He was my boss in 2020 when I worked on his campaign. He's always been extremely nice to me. He's come to events that I've done little events in bars and nightclubs and restaurants, and he's come. He probably lost for a variety of reasons. Governor Scott campaigned pretty heavily for John Rogers. David is always trying to kind of thread the needle between the Progs and the Dems, which is sometimes impossible. And, you know, he's gotten to share a bad press, but I'm not ever one to kick someone when he's down. David has always been very nice to me. He's been very nice to you. And, you know, all those thousands of days of going to Montpelier on a cold winter morning and all those hearings. And when he just did the banned books tour, amazing, all 14 counties. David will probably take a reset. I know he loves politics, so he'll be back. We've got to give credit to John Rogers, someone who I've never met. The one thing with Mr. Rogers is I think he'll be looking for a little more common ground with the governor. And I guess, Kevin, we should put up a picture of Governor Scott. He rolled to an amazing victory.
Win.
I didn't vote for him. I've never voted for him, but he's doing something right. He won his fifth term with what percent? Amazing, right?
Over 70.
Right. Now, I feel as a Burlingtonian that I'd like to see him more. I'd like to see him dealing with more urban issues. There's also so much rural poverty and the loss of young people. I think a lot of school districts need to be combined. But, I can sit here in my high hat and say, oh, Phil Scott. But like it or not, he is a proven vote getter. Mm-hmm. You can't really help but like him, and we're going to have to work with him. Esther Charleston, I voted for her. She was a good candidate, but, not very well known. Her first try for statewide office. I think we'll see her back again, maybe in a state Senate seat. I also have to say hello and goodbye to a couple really great friends of mine in the state legislature. Representative Mike McCarthy from St. Albans and Representative Diane Lamphere from Virgins. She was a delegate with me, or she was a delegate in 2016 when I was a volunteer at the convention. Who else didn't make it we should talk about?
Senator Chris Bray.
Chris did not win.
Did not win.
Okay.
Senator Mike McDonald did not win.
Oh, wow. 35 years in the Senate.
Breaking news, I guess, for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Who else did not win? Andy Julo, who was appointed by the governor.
Ran a good campaign.
Just in June, ran a great campaign, did not win.
Irene Renner.
Irene Renner did not win.
Friend of
mine. A couple other state reps. Carl Demrow over in Corinth.
Okay.
Did not win.
In Orange County, yeah.
In Orange County.
We couldn't get anything going up in Lyndonville.
Off the top of my head, Doug LaBounty lost.
Oh, not Doug LaBounty.
Not Doug LaBounty.
LaBounty is his last name, but I got to remember his. Dennis LaBounty.
Dennis.
Now, there's a guy who comes to any Democratic event. Now, you got these people, Irene Renner, across the spectrum. It's funny because some are kind of conservative, some are pretty liberal. Now, let's face the facts. In Lyndonville, we're shut out. In Caledonia, we're shut out. In Orange County, we're shut out. In St. Albans City, we're shut out. Now, I have a Vermont almanac from 1976, and if you look, those were all Democratic seats. What has happened? Now, first of all, Donald Trump has been on television every night of the century, either with 16 years of The Apprentice, which I have to admit I never watched. I'm not a big TV guy, and I'm never home on Friday night. And then he ran, lost, but kept on running. I was talking with my producer, Kevin Arms, and we also think he got some sympathy for simply getting shot in the head and continuing. That was a tragic episode, and it showed how there he is. We're going to do only one picture, and okay, I'm biting my lip, but congratulations, President Trump, you won. And you know what? I'll be fighting you guys next time, and but I do have to compliment him. He ran a strong race. Now, we were talking before we went on air, like death by 1,000 cuts. What do you think, Owen? Break it down for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, top to bottom, is discomfort, discontent with incumbency.
Status quo.
Worldwide, in 2024, every governing party that is the incumbent has lost re-election. Worldwide, this whole year.
Western Europe, everywhere,
everywhere in the world. And I also think high costs, like we're seeing coming off COVID.
Everybody's
inflation,
rents are going up,
Things are still very expensive, and there's not a great answer for that, even though Democrats have brought costs down. And I think that was really the most potent thing here in Vermont, statewide and in the legislature, and also nationwide. I think those were really the two of the largest.
But the party that cares about people the most, my God, I was talking with someone here, Mohammed, who's a staffer here, and he said, don't forget the great work that President Obama did. Mm-hmm. Now, affordable health care, don't let Trump try to tell you he's for it. He wants to get rid of it, but we saw how Senator McCain on his deathbed came to the Senate floor and voted to keep it. Mm-hmm. And we all know that people are healthier if they can go to a doctor. Now, okay, I need to take a little break and do my monthly COVID wrap. I had a good friend of mine has got COVID, just getting over it. COVID has not gone anywhere. I just got my 6th shot. How are you doing on your shots?
I think I have all of them.
Yeah. And if you get the shots, you're not going to get COVID. And the shots really don't hurt. You might have a little night of feel like you got punched in the arm a little bit, but they save your life. Now, if you want to know where to get a COVID shot, for example, right down the street, our sacred, our beautiful Community Health, which helps so many people in the Old North End. You can get it done there. You can get it done at UVM Medical. And if you have questions, let's say you need some help with food stamps. Let's say you need 3 squares. Let's say you need to sign up for Medicare or Medicaid. Let's say you need a fuel assistance card. Let's say you need to get maybe a bus pass. You can call a state number, and I do this every show, and Kevin, thank you, 211, okay? And you can call that toll-free all across Vermont. Now, everyone has suffered. Now, it's easy to say, no, I didn't. But COVID has jammed every one of us somehow. COVID has changed us, and probably not for the best. I had a guest last month, young man on a high school student, and he said went from COVID right into the mall for high school. So he has never had a conventional junior high or high school. And he admits that to me. He never had the complete high school experience. And we want to say hi to all the kids at BHS. We think they're great. They are our future. I believe that 68 different languages are spoken by BHS students, and the bright mosaic, the golden rainbow, that is our future. And they love going to BHS. They actually love going downtown and walk around downtown and have coffee and be cool and sit on the steps and do all the fun things you do as high school kids. We also, so we talked about, let's wrap up. So let's wrap up the state, first of all. We're going to go into the session in January. I believe that Speaker Kowinski will be reelected for another term. Do you?
Yeah, we'll see. She has a challenger, but I think
I love Jill. I'm endorsing her right now.
It's tough. I would also like the
endorse her,
speaker to
please?
continue. I would also like the speaker to continue.
She's going to be on nice
but
to
it's
us.
tough. It's tough to beat an incumbent. So I think she will pull it out. But certainly we'll have to answer some questions, which isn't a bad thing.
The speaker cannot always be nice. The speaker needs to get things through. The speaker cannot make everyone happy. The speaker has to think about the conservative Republican who's in the Northeast Kingdom or the very progressive Prague in the Old North End and come up with a budget, come up with committee assignments. And Dr. Jill Biden, we'll talk about her before the end of the show. Jill Kowinski is a friend of both of ours. We had such a good time with her in Chicago. She's bright, she's brilliant, she's kind, she cares about people. As we shook hands on it, we are endorsing her. I don't think that challenge will go that far, but sometimes challenges are good in democracy. I worked in Connecticut politics, and one thing I learned, the speaker cannot serve forever. There comes a time where they've kind of done what they can do. I think she has 2 more great years. Let's talk about governor. What we all are hearing, Governor Scott, congratulations again, he's been his next term he'll have been in governor 10 years. That is thought as maybe, because we have this crazy rule here where we have to run every 2 years. It's only New Hampshire and Vermont who have that, folks. So most governors have 4 years. And Governor Scott does not like all the hurrah and he does not like all the bells and whistles. He's kind of a man of the people. He loves driving his race car. He loves seeing the people. And sometimes all the dignity of being governor and all the formality, I think he thinks it's phony. If he does not run again, we would think that we know we'll have some Democratic candidates. I think my candidate would be State Treasurer Mike Pieciak. What do you think, Owen? Let's talk about some candidates.
I think there's a lot of great candidates. We don't have no Democrats
We
here
have 2 years.
in Vermont.
Right.
So that's good. You know, the Attorney General would be great.
Charity
the Treasurer,
Clark.
like you mentioned. I'm sure some state legislators would be interested. Maybe a couple senators. I'm not sure who.
Right.
It's a tough job, but
It's an amazing job.
Yeah, it's an amazing job, and I think a lot of people would definitely be interested.
Now, I'll tell you, I wish we could change this, but it takes a constitutional amendment. It takes several different sessions of the legislature. I understand the 2 year to keep a check on someone if they were unhinged or corrupt or impaired, but 4 years gives you a little chance to get your commissioners and your judges and your appointees working and the oil of state government running. We're going to have to make some tough choices. This state is not a wealthy state. We kind of have we have some wealthy people and wealthy gold towns. But where I am right now is, if I go a few blocks away from here, I'm in the heart of the old North End. I'm on the corner of Archibald and North Union. You're entering one of the poorest neighborhoods in all of Vermont. And it's amazing because there's so much joy here. Like the kids at H.O. Wheeler, they don't hug their teachers at the end of the year. They hug their teachers every day. That's how much they love coming to school. For a lot of these kids, school's a safe space. So Mike Pichek is a possible candidate. Charity Clark is a possible candidate.
Secretary of State.
Sarah Copeland Hansis. Perhaps a state senator or two. Perhaps, sometimes you get a candidate that might be a commissioner, might be a moderate Republican, someone like a Neil Lunderville. I would think John Rogers has to look at it. But what my promise to you is that we will find an excellent Democratic candidate, and we will run hard, we will run fair, we will run on the issues, and we will run all 14 counties. Sometimes both the Democrats and Republicans are guilty of not focusing on all the counties. So we're going to do all the 14 real quick. Addison, Bennington, Caledonia, Chittenden, Essex, Franklin, Lamoille, Orleans, Orange, Rutland, Windsor, Windham, and
Grand Isle.
Oh, forgot Grand Isle. And there's 3 Washington.
Yeah.
But you see, these states have different interests. I mean, you go over to Washington County, Caledonia County, it's very, very agricultural. It's very, very poor. I go through this town in Waits River. I have a friend who has camp over in Squam Lake, and it hasn't changed in 25 years. And you see the young people are leaving. They're either going to college out of state, going to technical school, but they're not coming back. And we're going to have to make some tough decisions about we're too top heavy on our school districts. Would you think, Owen?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get involved in the school fight. I don't have the solutions. I'm not somebody that is interested or knows anything about that policy. But it's hard to have rural school systems,
right.
And I don't know how you make it equal for folks in poor communities and rich communities and really rural and large communities, just geographically. So it's certainly a difficult problem that I don't claim to have any solution for.
The answer is
yeah.
Now. My executive producer, Jordan Mitchell, told me that she maybe had a screenshot of all 50 states with the electoral, and we wanted to put that up. Why that's coming up, I'd like to thank Jordan Mitchell. I'd like to thank Kevin Arms. I'd like to thank Stephen. I'd like to thank Bobby. I'd like to thank Erica. I'd like to thank, let's see here. I'll remember a couple more. It's been a long week, folks. Now, that is the electoral map. Unfortunately, we're in red, right? No. You see how we did extremely well in New England. Maine has this thing where they vote by congressional district, and their county, Aroostook County, you see to the far north, which is as big as Vermont, went for Trump. Now, I personally feel that's unconstitutional, a state dividing its electoral votes. But you see, we do well. We grab New York. We're feeling great. We grab California. We grab Washington. We grab Oregon. New Mexico and Colorado, which Colorado has been very tough for some years. Mm-hmm. And then we just hit a solid south. And in the Midwest, from the top to the bottom, Florida, Texas, all the border communities, except for Arizona, go for Mr. Trump. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. So you see, it was quite a defeat. Now, what do I say? I think I'm going to try to list in the last couple minutes the reasons. One, the president had to bow out early because of health. That only gave Kamala...
Bowed out late.
Right, late.
Bowed out too late, probably.
Right. That gave Miss Harris only 15 weeks. Now, 15 weeks is like a summer. And what she did with that 15 weeks was amazing. The country has gotten more conservative. They watch Fox News. They believe in this nativism. They believe in xenophobia. Now, when we talk about trans people, there's only one fair response: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? And prejudice against a trans person is prejudice against any other race, creed, or religion. And we see how people are finally being comfortable where they're able to make a pick that was not put upon them. And I stand with them, and It's a tough moment for them. They face a lot of discrimination in housing. They're about 40 times higher rate to be assaulted. They have a tough time getting jobs. And I want to say right now, I am with the trans community. And we also got a lot of votes from the trans folks. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that is a non-starter. That is a civil rights movement. That is like a civil rights movement of the 60s. Now, how do we reach out to people who feel left behind, might live in a rural area, might be in a family suffering from drugs, might not have a job? You know, the one thing about the states, the swing states, they're all pretty economically depressed. Talk about, now you were in Philly, but talk about the rest of PA. They sometimes call it Pencil, Kentucky, right?
Pennsyltucky, yeah.
That's not a compliment.
Pittsburgh and Philly. Well, even in Philly, where the part of Philly I was in was South Philly, which is very working class.
Yes.
Very
democratic.
Very diverse, with some Trump pockets now that are gaining a lot of power. And I think, you know, the message to rural communities and folks that are middle class or poor is that Democrats are for them. They're here to lower costs for housing by creating more tenant protections and
who canceled all the federal student loans?
They're for canceling student loans and making payment plans. Therefore, bringing down energy costs through clean energy. Therefore, bringing down childcare costs by making childcare affordable, or the childcare tax credit. So all these things are things Democrats are for us, and I think it's just we haven't messaged them well enough.
Now, here's another thing, on all this Green New Deal and all this economic package, it will take years and years for that to see results, okay?
We haven't passed the Green New Deal yet.
And
we'd like to.
But now what about that big infrastructure package that he passed? What was that called?
The Inflation Reduction Act.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to reach out to the young people. You are our future, like the kids at BHS. We believe in you. We have gone through tough times as a country. We need to try to unite. And you know, Donald Trump is not a uniter. Now, I hope and he sees in his heart that he only has one term and he wants to go out as a divisive figure. Great. He can make history. We have 2 minutes left here. Sorry, just trying to collect my thoughts. I better quickly thank the staff again. Miss Lauren Glendavidian, Emeritus, Miss O'Rourke, Erica, Stephen, Bobby, Kevin Harms, my executive producer, Jordan Mitchell, my great buddy, Owen Doherty. You've been on 3 times. You seem to enjoy it.
Always love coming on and chatting.
Now listen, I'll tell you what. You're in the big boys chair. I'm going to let you take it out. Thank you for coming. You take the last minute.
Thank you for coming in today. Thank you, Andrew, for having me on. Make sure you get out and vote. And Town Meeting Day is just a ways away in March. So make sure you get out there and vote in March. Get registered. And politics doesn't stop after Election Day. It keeps going. So thanks for joining us today.